The Hale mansion stood on a hill overlooking the city, its glass walls glowing like a crown at dusk. Inside, everything was immaculate. White marble floors polished to mirrors, artwork worth millions hanging beneath perfectly angled lights, fresh orchids replaced every morning before sunrise. Yet the grand dining room felt colder than the winter air outside. At the very end of a 20-seat table sat 6-year-old Amara Hale, her legs too short to reach the floor, her fingers resting motionless in her lap. In front of her was a carefully prepared plate. Grilled salmon cut into tiny cubes, mashed potatoes shaped like clouds, steamed carrots arranged like flower petals. Nanny number 17 knelt beside her. "Just one bite, sweetheart," the nanny said softly, her British accent gentle and trained. "It's your favorite." Amara didn't blink. Across the room, Daniel Hale stood with his arms folded. At 38, he had built one of the largest artificial intelligence companies in the world. His name appeared on magazine covers. Investors called him a visionary. Competitors feared him. But right now, he looked powerless. "It's been 3 hours," he muttered. The nanny tried again, lifting the fork closer. "For me." Amara slowly turned her face away. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. Daniel stepped forward. "Amara." No response. His voice hardened. Not with anger, but with exhaustion. "You can't keep doing this." Her fingers tightened slightly in her lap. 17 nannies had come before this one. Some had been warm and motherly. Others structured and disciplined. One had attempted games, another reward charts. One had even hired a puppet performer to make vegetables talk. Amara had refused them all. Not screaming, not throwing tantrums, just refusing. Doctors had confirmed she was physically healthy. A child psychologist had gently suggested grief counseling, but Daniel insisted she was already seeing the best therapist money could buy. He didn't understand why she still wouldn't eat. He didn't understand why the house still felt empty. "Enough," Daniel said finally, his voice flat. "You're dismissed." The nanny froze. "Sir." You'll receive your full compensation." Her shoulders fell. Within an hour, she was packing her bags. Upstairs, Amara sat alone in her room, staring at a framed photo on her bedside table. It showed her mother laughing in the garden, sunlight caught in her hair, her arms wrapped around Amara from behind. Her mother had always eaten with her. Not across from her, not instructing. With her. They would sit on the kitchen floor sometimes, sharing strawberries from the same bowl, whispering secrets between bites. Her mother would say, "Food tastes better when it's shared." After the funeral, the kitchen had been renovated. The floors replaced, the furniture updated, but the warmth had vanished. The next morning, a new employee arrived at the mansion's service entrance. Her name was Lena Brooks. She wasn't there to be a nanny. She had been hired as a temporary kitchen maid after several staff members complained about the tension in the house. She wore a simple black uniform, her natural curls tied back neatly. Her posture was calm, steady, observant. Daniel barely looked up from his phone when the house manager introduced her. "She'll assist with cleaning and meal prep, sir." Daniel nodded once. "Keep her out of the nursery." "Yes, sir." Lena said nothing. She had learned long ago that in houses like this, the quiet ones survived longer. By mid-afternoon, she had memorized the kitchen layout and polished counters that already gleamed. The chefs whispered about the child, in low voices. "She hasn't eaten properly in weeks. 17 nannies. The boss is losing it." Lena listened without commenting. As she carried fresh linens upstairs, she passed a half-open door. Inside, sunlight poured over shelves of untouched toys and designer dolls. Amara sat on the carpet in the middle of the room. Perfectly still, a dollhouse stood before her, its miniature furniture arranged precisely, but no dolls inside. One lay on its side, face turned toward the ceiling. Lena paused. She didn't knock loudly. She didn't announce herself. She stepped in quietly and sat down on the rug, a respectful distance away. She began folding the linens in her lap, her movements unhurried. Minutes passed. Amara noticed her, but said nothing at first. "You're new," the little girl said eventually, her voice thin. "Yes," Lena replied softly. "I'm still learning where things belong." "They all leave." The words weren't bitter, just factual. Lena continued folding. "Sometimes grown-ups leave," she said gently. "Sometimes they don't get to choose." Amara's eyes shifted to her. My mommy didn't choose. Lena's hand stilled for a heartbeat. No, she whispered, she didn't. No one in the mansion spoke that truth out loud. They said, passed away. Gone. Sleeping with the angels. But Lena spoke it plainly. Amara looked back at the doll on the floor. Daddy doesn't sit with me anymore. The confession hung in the air like fragile glass. Lena didn't rush to fix it. Maybe he doesn't know how, she said carefully. Amara considered that. Downstairs, dinner preparations began again with military precision. A new nanny, temporary, hopeful, stood ready beside Amara at the long dining table that evening. Daniel sat at the opposite end, laptop closed but within reach. Pasta shaped like butterflies was placed before Amara. She stared at it. The nanny crouched beside her. Just a bite. Amara's shoulders tightened. Daniel exhaled sharply. Amara, please. The little girl flinched at the word. From the kitchen doorway, Lena watched. She noticed something the others didn't. The table was too long. Too formal. Too lonely. Without asking permission, Lena stepped into the dining room. The nanny's eyes widened. A maid did not cross that invisible boundary. Daniel looked up, irritation flashing. What are you doing? Lena didn't answer him. She walked calmly to the chair beside Amara and pulled it out. The scraping sound against marble echoed loudly. She sat down. Gasps whispered from the staff. Daniel rose halfway to his feet. Excuse me. Lena picked up the polished silver fork from Amara's plate. She twirled a small portion of pasta carefully, as if unaware of the shock surrounding her. Then she brought it to her own mouth. And took a bite. She chewed thoughtfully. Swallowed. It's good, she said simply. The nanny looked horrified. Daniel's face darkened. Have you lost your mind? He demanded. Lena turned slightly. Not to him, but to Amara. Would you like to taste it with me? She asked gently. Not for me. With me. The difference was quiet, but enormous. Amara stared at her. No one had eaten with her since her mother. Lena twirled another bite but didn't push it forward. Instead, she placed the fork back on the plate and waited. I'll take another one, Lena said, picking up a second fork from an unused setting nearby. She scooped a bite and ate it casually. Amara's fingers trembled. The room felt frozen in time. Slowly, almost uncertainly, Amara reached, not for the food, but for the extra fork Lena had set down. Lena handed it to her without ceremony. Amara copied her movements. The pasta slipped once. She tried again. Daniel watched, barely breathing. The fork reached her mouth. She paused, then took the smallest bite imaginable. Chewed, swallowed, silence. Then Amara looked at Lena and whispered, it tastes different. Lena smiled softly. Food changes when you're not alone. Daniel's throat tightened unexpectedly. He had bought nutrition plans. Private chefs, specialists. But he had never moved his chair. He walked slowly down the length of the enormous table until he stood beside them. May I? His voice faltered. He cleared it. May I join you? Amara looked up at him, searching his face as if for the father she used to know. After a long moment, she nodded. Daniel pulled a chair close, not at the far end, but right beside his daughter. Lena began to stand, intending to return to the kitchen. Amara's small hand shot out and gripped her sleeve. Stay. The word was fragile, afraid it might be refused. Daniel hesitated only a second. Then he gestured to another chair. Please, he said quietly. Lena sat back down. They shared the same plate of butterfly pasta. No instructions, no pressure, just 3 forks moving gently across porcelain. Amara took another bite, and another. Between mouthfuls, she glanced at her father, as if checking whether he would disappear again. He didn't. Halfway through the meal, Daniel set his fork down. I'm sorry, he said softly, not to the room, not to the staff. To his daughter. I didn't know how to sit without her. Amara's eyes filled, but she kept eating. By the time the plate was empty, she had finished more than she had in months. The dining room felt different, smaller, warmer. Not because of the chandeliers or the marble, but because 3 chairs now touched. That night, for the first time since her mother's death, Amara asked for breakfast in the morning. And the next evening, Daniel moved the dinner table to the kitchen. Not the grand hall, the kitchen, where food was shared, and where a quiet maid had done the unthinkable. not by force, not by authority, but by sitting down.